This video is going to be the latest in the collection, my collection series, as in this is what I've got, and let's see what it's like. First of all, thanks very much for tuning in. If you are new to the channel, I am the Retro Bear, here in the retro cave somewhere in the world. If you are tuning in for the first time, I show off my collection, as you can see. I go through my pickups through weekly shopping trips, through charity shops and various sort of second-hand places. And also, if you look closely, there are some gameplay videos in there as well. So if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and all the business that we do here on YouTube. Always good to have new subscribers, always good to hear from people who can leave comments. And if you are sort of back once again for more pain, hello, how are you? Nice to see you again, thank you for tuning in. And this is the next collections video. You may sort of, those you regular viewers would have seen the Commodore 64 one, which seemed to go on for months. Still working on the director's cut, by the way, just so you picked that up originally. Then I showed off the Amiga video, which for my channel anyway sort of went very, very popular very, very quickly, and a lot of views on that one, far and away the most viewed video I've done. So if you did watch those, that one particularly, thank you very much indeed. And if you did sort of like it and spread it around, even better, thank you very much for doing that. And then a few weeks ago I did the N64 one, which was different, but you know, a small collection of games, not particularly outstanding in terms, but again a lot of nice feedback from people saying there were some good games in there, which is always nice. And all this stuff was bought years and years ago, so I've been sort of mulling over what the next one to do would be, because there's quite a few to choose from, and there are a couple where I haven't got big collections. I've got smaller collections, and they won't take so long. This one's sort of like, I suppose, really a medium-sized one. But it's a console which to me has more significance than the other console that was up against it, in the fact that I actually knew somebody who had one. Didn't necessarily manage to get to play on it. That's a story. We may get to that. There may be a few tangents in this one. If you're a regular viewer, you sort of know what tangents we go on. So, what am I talking about? Well, if you've seen the title card, obviously you'll know. So for those who simply didn't bother reading that, or skip straight through to this bit to actually show you what I'm talking about rather than just sit here talking, today, class, the subject for discussion is the Sega Master System with added shine. As you can see, I've been up polishing this all night, and I haven't really, but it did have a good clean a few weeks ago. This particular one is the origin in terms of getting it to me was purchased by my other half for my 42nd birthday, which was last year, not this year, last year. I know I look younger, but and I'd always wanted one of these, never had one properly. Like I said, a friend of mine at school, the only person I've ever known who had one of these, and he was still a mate of mine to this day. Hello James, if you're watching. And he had one of these, and he always used to talk about it and all the great games you can get for it, and how it was much, much better than the Nintendo Entertainment System. And to be honest with you, I'm inclined to agree, because I've got an NES, which you could probably just see down there, but I don't have many games for it, and to me it wasn't really a machine that sort of struck a chord with me. This was more the one because it got Sega on it, and as I've had a conversation about this recently with somebody, the name Sega meant more to me than the name Nintendo. If I went into an arcade, I saw the name Sega on something like Outrun and Afterburner and various others that I can't think of at the moment because I've just come home from work. But that was the sort of thing that sort of resonated with me. Sega meant games. This is a games console. Nintendo at the time I didn't really have much idea of. So the fact somebody had one of these was fantastic. Quick talk through, as we did with the N64, just around some of the bits and pieces on here, in case you aren't familiar, because this is the Mark 1 version. Okay, there is another one. This was the original that came out, like Sega did with the Mega Drive. They also produced this cut down version. Now, just trying to bring this a bit closer. So that's the cartridge slot there. That's where you slot your cartridge in. You've also got the reset button. Actually, a pause button as well, which is a function you don't see on many consoles. There's also here a card slot. Now, initially, when this was produced, Sega brought out some games that actually came on memory cards. So if you remember the old PlayStation 2 sort of things, not quite as thick, not quite as long, but that was the idea. You put that in there and you played the game off a card, as opposed to playing a game off a cartridge, which we'll come to in a second. You can see there's ports on the front for the 2 control pads. So, 2 players on that one. That's your power button there, which works beautifully. Quick whiz round the back, so you've got an AV out, you've got RF out, and also where your adapter goes in as well. Okay, and then underneath, now there is actually here, and I always sort of do this with even the previous ones and sort of say, there is actually a port there which appears to have something, that looks to me, if I can just put that in the light there a little bit there, there's something there which, I don't know whether that's been broken off or what, but you can actually sort of see the circuitry under there. If you look hard enough, you can see all 4 of the pads are in place, so it sits nicely. I'm going to put that back in there. And this is the model number 3005-05-A. Serial number 491544693. I have no idea if that's any good or not, but there we go. So that's what it is. I like the look of that. Some people would sort of think it's a bit of a clumsy looking machine, because you can see there it's got sort of, it's a bit like Crichton out of Red Dwarf, sort of the angles and things like that. It doesn't quite look there. When you turn it on, it sort of said there's power comes on there, and that shows you how to set it all up and what have you. So there. Now, as I mentioned, they did bring out a second version, because that was the original one, and when they were trying to save money and cut down on all the bits and pieces that were in there, now they came out with this monstrosity, which is the Master System 2. I should also mention as well, if I'll come back to that one, let's backtrack, there we go, tangent. There are actually 2 games built into this console. One which is Hang On, which is the old motorbike Sega arcade game, which you sit on a bike and drive around. And the other one is a light gun game called, I believe it was called Safari Hunt. I hope that's the right one anyway, which is sort of like Duck Hunt really. So when the NES was sold, it sort of came with 2 sort of free games with it, game bundled in, Duck Hunt and Mario Brothers and that one. This sort of came with the games built in. Similar thing on this one. It looks horrible. I mean, this is the idea that they're now. It's like a bloody toaster. I mean, look at that. I was lucky. I mean, that one's bought for me. This one I managed to pick up a car boot sale like that for £2. It works, but I've never. I mean, it's a really deep cartridge slot there as well. I think the idea is I very rarely use this because I don't like the way it grips the cartridges. It probably needs a good going over properly inside to give it a good clean through. I think the idea was you put your cartridge in there and then you can actually sort of like put that over the top again. I don't know, maybe it will do. Power button down there, which is very like the Mega Drive one. The Mega Drive one sort of, there we go, big chunky switch there, which again doesn't sound great, does it? And there's a pause button there as well. But you've lost a lot of the facility. You've got the 2 ports at the front to put the controllers in. You've also lost, so you've got RF out and the AC adapter, so you've lost the AV out. And underneath there, nothing there at all. So this is the 3006-05, serial number 120123716. Now these are the only ones I had. If you remember the N64 video, I've got about 3 of those knocking around. The Commodore 64 video, I've got 2 of those knocking around. And the Amiga video, I've got a 500, the 1200. So I've got these 2, so I'm going to show you those 2 there. That's horrible. It doesn't scrub up particularly well either. I believe I've tried to clean that enough times over the years to try and get it back where it would. I mean, there's a mark on it there, you see. Oh, that wasn't on there the other day. I think there's some stuff on it just ground into grounding. It does work. I can't remember what game comes built in. I think originally one of the Alex Kidd's Enchanted World was in here, and then I think that got replaced shortly after by Sonic. It's been so long since I've turned this one on, I don't know what's in there. But like I said, I bought it loose. It does work. So there we go. I'll move those units out of the way because I'm illegal. If you are new, by the way, the rough and ready clanging around, no cutting, everything like that is part of the deal. Yeah, it is what we do. Here's the controllers for it. Got 2 of these, so you got your buttons there, like the NES pads, same sort of thing. I much prefer that that rolling around there as opposed to the up down cross thing there. That's the end of the thing. Again, universal connector, so very similar to the Atari 2600 joysticks. You could actually use these, technically speaking, in other computers and consoles that had that fitting on the end of it. Wasn't recommended, but you could do it. So there's 2 of those knocking around. I won't show you the second one because it's sort of like the first, really. You've seen one controller like this, some more. before I get very, very annoyed. Oh dear, I'll put that down there. Now, I sort of mentioned there was a light gun game when this was purchased for me for my birthday. It did come with the Sega Light Phaser. Now, there were a couple of add-ons where you could actually buy a pair of 3D glasses. There were a number of 3D games that came out for the Master System. I think Outrun was one, of Space Harrier as well. A couple of others where you could actually sort of plug them in there. It's also there was another one you could actually buy an arcade joystick for it as well, which was a much bigger sort of thing. So although you got the control pad, for those of you who aren't familiar what a joystick is, this was sort of built on a unit, and then you had like what basically looks like if you drive a car, looks like a gear stick, and you'd be using that instead of that. So this is the light phaser. Anyway, this for those of you who are not quite aware is a light gun. And in the old days when televisions were sort of built out of industrial waste and materials, and they were bloody heavy to shift around, you could actually use one of these and it would work because of the way the television was displaying the picture. Modern televisions nowadays, you can't do that. There have been light guns made for newer televisions. I was looking into that a couple of months ago and I completely forgot all about it. That would have been quite relevant to talk about here. But this only works on the old style televisions. That's why people do still want old style TVs. I've got a little portable. The Sony, I think the Sony Trinitron is the one to get. If you can find a Sony Trinitron, those are meant to be very, very good. Because even as far up to the Sega Saturn and the PlayStation 1, I should know because I've got games like Virtua Cop and Time Crisis for them. You need a little, you need an old style television to play them. Otherwise, that was the bag. You're going to need something else. Yeah. Waffling on. Other bits that came with it as well, which was the Sega Connection RF lead, bits and pieces. What now might be classed as a dangerous weapon, which is the Sega mains adapter for it, and a carrier bag, which I still have to this day, and also just one final bit of interest, this thing here, which I have no idea what that is. It's some sort of aerial connector, and it says there computer. Now of course this wasn't a computer, so I don't know what this was designed for. It's got a little thing up there. If anybody knows what this is, do let me know, because I'll be interested to find out what it is. I think it's now basically a more complicated way of putting your things onto television, but somebody at some point has actually put a sticky pad on the back of that, which is rather disappointing. Like I said, if I don't know what it's for, I just won't use it. So if anybody knows what it is, do let me know, because I'll be very keen. Right, so that's the console, he says dismissively, with massive hand gestures, and from there I've got some games. Now, this is quite good about this is it's a mixture of loose and box games, and some of these are actually complete. So if you go back to the N64 one, you'd see I've got quite a few loose cartridges, and I've got, what is it, about 8 to 10 games that were incoming in the boxes. When Sega sort of bought the Master System out and carried it on with the Mega Drive, and to an extent with some games on the Saturn, although the Saturn was at a point where they sort of switched to a cardboardy plastic hybrid, which didn't quite work. And if I do a Saturn collection, you'll see that. But some people have got better Saturn collections than I have. I mean, some of my stuff's falling apart, but they produced Sega proper plastic hard case boxes in, and we'll get to that in a second. I'll show you the loose ones. But they were designed and they were built to last, and they are actually an absolute thing of beauty, because they've lasted the test of time, and they are very easy to find at least with a box. So you don't necessarily have to sort of scrap around. If you're looking for NES stuff, you're looking for Super NES stuff, you're looking for N64 stuff, Game Boy stuff, Game Boy Advance, finding stuff in complete cracking condition with the box, even finding stuff with a box is a blessing. To find it with the manual and the inserts is you're sort of like tap dancing all the way to the bank. This stuff was built to last, that wasn't. So when you see it, you realise just how, and they look good as well. They look good. Right, so let's start off with the games that I've got. Now, first of all, you're going to sort of say, the purists are going to be having a heart attack. He's put a label across the top there. The reason there's a label across the top there, because if I've got the games on a shelf like that, I can actually see what it is. This was one of the problems that Sega had, which Nintendo didn't. And that's not the first time we've heard that phrase. The NES cartridges actually had a little tag which told you what game it was, so you could stack them upside, on top of each other, or in a row. with the Master System ones, they didn't. They had the title of the game there, so if you had a loose cartridge, you got no idea what it was. So I have, for my purpose only, put a little label on there which tells me exactly. You can't see it. There we go. Land of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse. So I know what it is. Honestly, you should see some of the stuff that I've inherited from other people. If you think that's terrible, you should see some. Wait till we get to Super Nintendo stuff. You're going to see some shocking shit there. Believe me. So yeah, Land of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse. All the Mickey Mouse games, the Illusion games, such as Castle of Illusion, which is the next one I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you that. So Mickey Mouse, the Illusion games, absolutely brilliant. Both on the Mega Drive and the Master System. And the great thing about these is these are slightly different games to those games, because of the capability. Obviously, the half the bit size in terms of producing this game compared to the Mega Drive one. So what they've actually done, and this is a wonderful thing that you see occasionally, not all the time, but during gaming, is that people actually produce system-specific original games. So it might be called the same as that, but it's actually an original game. So there we go, lovely. This one is Shinobi, which is, well, I was trying to think of an arcade game earlier about Sega. The Shinobi was another I was trying to think of. Fantastic game, this one. My friend who I mentioned at the Master System, interesting story about this one. He actually got all the way to the very end of this, and for those of you who haven't played it, I don't want to spoil it for you, but basically he got to the end, and the message you saw on the screen, he was not happy, because I think at the time, and again we probably would have been about 13, 14, no, probably 12 or 14 years old, something like that. He slogged his way through to get to the end of the game, and then he got to the end game message, and it wasn't the message he was looking for, in the words of the Jedi's. This is Black Belt, which I can't remember an awful. Is that the one that used to scroll across the screen? There is a game. Yes, it is. I think it is that one. I quite enjoyed that. A bit of a mark tearing on there, but I remember that one. It's like you're a sort of a karate guy going across the screen and sort of kicking people. Not Kung Fu Master. I'm getting confused with that one. It's a slightly different one. I must put that on and play that bit. Play that again. That was good fun. That was. Now these would have come probably from a mixture of charity shops and. No, actually, most of these probably would have come from car boot sales. I think there's probably one, which I think might have been one of the Mickey Mouse games I've shown you. I may have bought actually from a second-hand shop. Special shop used to be in a big city near me many years ago. Bit of a tattoo on this one, but I think I found it at the bottom of a car boot sale one time. That's what it's about. Tom and Jerry the movie, which, if I remember, was an absolute abomination, because for some reason they decided after 50 years of Tom and Jerry that the great thing would be to actually make them talk. Why would you do that? Kills Tom and Jerry. The rest of Tom and Jerry's are the ones that are made in the 40s. You can quote me on that. I know what I'm talking about. Original Sonic the Hedgehog. Again, this is a different variant to the Mega Drive Sonic game. Again, a little bit of a damage on the top there. You can actually get this very cheaply now. Some of these games were sort of quite, even back then, were mass produced. So I think I had a spare copy of this. I think I traded mine into CEX for about 40 pence. I think that's all it was worth. I think they were selling it for £2. So you can, if you look carefully in the right places, still pick up very cheap cartridges. This one appears to have stuck itself there again. That's when the label system doesn't work. This is World Soccer. All I can tell you, it's a very early soccer game. It's not very good. Let's just say what the cartridge is, not bad condition. And then finally, I was Mortal Kombat 2. I remember playing Mortal Kombat on the Mega Drive, but never actually played this one before. So yeah, I'm quite happy to have that one in the collection anyway. And that is quite a collectible, and that's still decent value on that one. Mortal Kombat's always very popular. Also, at some point as well, I've managed to find a spare booklet for Alex Kidd in Miracle World. So if you are out there, I mean, it's not the greatest manual in the world, I'll be honest with you, but if you are missing a manual for Alex Kidd in Mineral World, that's the one that didn't get made, where he's sort of basically battling minerals. I can't think of any minerals. Something like that anyway. Perhaps he's distilling spring water to break the minerals down. Anyway, coming back from that tangent, if anybody wants this or wants to swap it for something equally stupid or whatever, let me know, because it's sitting here gathering dust at the moment. Right, so that's the loose stuff. Let's move on to the complete stuff. And I did buy this for 99p, world-class leaderboard. Now, if you were, again, going back years and years, if you're new to sort of gaming or only familiar with the Tiger Woods series and the PGA stuff, this was the premier golfing series at the time. First started on Commodore 64, and those games were fantastic. And I've played all versions of the leaderboard, played the Amiga version as well. You can see the box is... Oh dear me. Right, anyway, it does open, but it's not going to open today. It's obviously gone very shy, and we'll maybe try again later. As you can see, you've got on top of these boxes here this sort of thing, so it's obviously been designed to hang in the shop like that. Now some people, as you'll see later on, has cut these off and got rid of them, which is not the way to do it. But you can see there, you know, this is proper hard quality plastic. You can see the back of that there, and again it's the actual design of the boxes themselves, because you can just see there, possibly, if I can stop glaring at it, there we can see you've got the grid sort of pattern. So if you look at the rest of the games I'm going to show you, that was very much the sort of design. You've got the Sega logo at the top, you had the game in the middle, you had Sega on the spine there, and you can just see just how good that looks on the shelf. Absolute niceness, isn't it? Absolute niceness. Is niceness a word? Yeah, okay, we'll move on from that one. It is in there, you can hear it. It is in there. We shall never know. Perhaps that's a video in itself. One day I'll manage to open this up and... Ah, there we go. There we go. Oh, somebody actually got this out of W.H. Smith years ago. It's got $29.99, and that's an old W.H. Smith sticker. So as you can see, there's the cartridge in there, and also you got the that's where the manual should have been. There we go. Actually, I think that box is well and truly knackered, because someone's actually pushed it past the edge of the clip. What's next? We've got Wimbledon. This was actually quite a highly regarded simulator when it first came out. It used to get very good reviews. I think Pete Sampras Tennis sort of bypassed it eventually. That was the one that sort of took over, I think. But tennis games have got Super Tennis on the Super Nintendo, possibly the greatest tennis game, and I think Virtua Tennis 3 on the PlayStation 3 wasn't far behind it. There you go, so you can see the manual there. That's a good nick manual, that one. Lovely and complete. It's still got that on there. Only thing is missing is a little Sega sticker on the side there, but yeah, nice condition, that one. Great game. The Lucky Dying Caper, starring Donald Duck. What you got to say about these Disney games is they are absolutely immense. And this is when Sega had the license, but it wasn't Disney producing these. It wasn't until much later they started doing their own games like Aladdin, and then they sort of really got into it. But one of my all-time favourites, this one. Love this game. Music is not... Master System was never great for music, I've got to be honest with you. Some people say it's not so bad. I really sort of used to great. It's actually missing the manual, just a warning notice in there. But yeah, this is a great game. Classic platform, looks absolutely superb, sounds terrible. Now this one here, you can see there's no... it's been cut off there. Someone's quite clearly had a nip at that. Can you see that there? Yeah, see that's on there. And you can see it's Super Monaco Grand Prix, which is a game I played extensively on the Mega Drive. One of my favourite games actually on the Mega Drive, because it had the arcade conversion. It started off as an arcade conversion, and then when they brought it down the Mega Drive, they included the full 16 race Formula 1 Grand Prix season. Brilliant stuff, absolutely brilliant. Nice and complete on the inside, that one. It obviously loses. Oh, and there's a Master System. I knew that was there, sorry. And there's actually a Master System catalogue. See, a Master System, a Master System 2, and all sorts of different games. I'm going to say on the inside there, so you can see all the different bits and pieces. You can see on the top here, Ghouls and Ghosts, I think it is. And actually on the back, I was talking about sort of different peripherals you can buy for it. There's the joystick I was talking about earlier, just there under my finger. So you can see where the joypad is on the other side here. The control pad is on the left hand side, where on the joystick the actual sort of controller is on it. It's a huge, great big thing, isn't it? Massive thing. And there's also a Game Gear down there as well, which I've got, and we may do one of those one of these days as well. But it's always nice to see that bit of proper art and artwork in there every day. As the manual fell out completely and utterly unplanned, as everything else seems to be. This is a bit of a rough one today, isn't it? Goodness me, live television. Right, so we've got another 1, 2, 3, there's 7 or 8 more to go. This is Desert Strike. Ironically, this was from the home conversions were done by Electronic Arts. This one is being done by Domark, which is really weird. Again, if you never play one of the Strike games, Desert Strike, Jungle Strike, Soviet Strike, Urban Strike, they're all really good fun. They really are. This one sadly doesn't have the manual, but it's got the cartridge in there. Nice looking game, that one. It's got the little thingy on top. Oh, they're great. We saw Sonic 1 earlier. Here's Sonic 2, which again is another original game for the system, not the same one as the Mega Drive. You can also see on this one there's the Sega label, which sort of went down the side, which I think was there to sort of like act as a seal. Not a very good seal. Not a great manual on that one, bit dirty. It is Sonic 2 anyway. But again, great games on their own right. Oh, here's an interesting one. Super Kick-Off. Now I remember my mate got this, and he insisted taking it around to my friend's house. So another friend who had sort of like, he had a Super Nintendo and then he went up to an N64 after that. So my mate Jim took his Master System round Neil's house. The names haven't been changed to protect the innocent, they know who they are. And having played Kick-Off on the Amiga for a long time, I think this came out in 1991, so having sort of like, I think I've been playing in fact, no, it wasn't the Master. I don't know. It was the Master System Mega Drive he took, and I can't remember because I've got both versions of this. Got the Master System and the Mega Drive version. Anyway, he took his console round. He took this round, and we ended up playing it. And it wasn't quite the same as the 16-bit version. Not graphically, because that would be stupid. I'm not making that mistake again. No, it just didn't have the same feel to it. It just didn't. I don't know why. So there we go. Complete that one. But yeah, Kick-Off. I mean, Kick-Off is my favourite football game of all time, just ahead of Pro Evolution Soccer series, I will say, because some of those are like better than others. But this one was the one that really sort of established me football on a console. Can be done on a console and a computer. Next one up, missing the bit at the top, a bit of a manky label, but it's Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and this is the action game. As you can see from the back there, it's a platformer. I think I've actually played this one. This was part of a pack only, not to be returned separately, so whether this was actually a packing game at one point, I don't know. Seems strange if it was, I don't remember that. Just the cartridge on that one. Again, I can't tell you much more about that, other than the fact I haven't played it. Now, here's one I really did enjoy playing, and you may see my Commodore 64 video about this one. This is Rampage. Great arcade game, giant monsters. I love the fact it points out on the back here, it just tells you rounds. So in terms of levels, 50. So you know you're getting good value for money on that one. Sadly, I think again I'm missing a manual on this one. But this was just great fun. You know, you've got on the front there, you got a wolf and a lizard and a monkey. You may have seen the recent film that came out, which got nothing to do with it whatsoever. And going around sort of like destroying buildings and eating people, and it's just good fun. It's just good fun, that one. Do pick up a copy if you can do. This actually came with the Master System when my other half bought it on my birthday, which is the Ninja, and that's a really tricky old game, that one, I must be honest with you. It's a sort of upward scrolling ninja game, no manual for it, but nice condition, box, everything there that should be. This 1986 gives you an idea, and it looks 1986 when you play it, but it's a tricky old game, and it's quite addictive. You can't put it down. So the last one then. The last one is part of my Sega Master System collection, which is actually fully complete. And I'm very pleased to say that somebody's actually written down possibly the registration of their car, but I suspect it's more likely to be a passcode on the game on this one. And this is PGA Tour Golf. Because we got leaderboard earlier, you've got to have the version of it to sort of go around. Again, I remember playing this on the Amiga when EA started churning these out. This one has come out from Tengen, so I'm not sure whether EA actually had a license to produce games on the Master System, or were they just simply found it too difficult to get to somebody else to do. But this would have been under the EA license at the time. So yeah, nice on the inside. We got a nice little Sega label there just down the side, which you can't see there. And that's it. So yeah, it's a pretty small collection, isn't it? I mean, let's be honest, 1, 2, 3, 7, 11, yeah, probably about 20 games or so there, which is quite tiny. But there are some good titles in that. They've got both Sonic games, which are really good to play. Super Mario Kart Grand Prix. You've got the Mickey Mouse games, the Donald Duck Lucky Dime Caper, and Wimbledon, one of the best tennis games on it, and a Desert Strike game, and Mortal Kombat 2. So I think there's a good variety in there. There's a bit different with platform, sports games, arcade conversions, what have you. I mean, it does miss, it's missing a lot of the heavy hitters. But when I got these initially at the time, bear in mind that most of that stuff I would have got 6 or 7 years ago. The only one I think I probably got recently would have been the Ninja, which would have come when my mother bought it for me. But yeah, but you can buy a lot of the loose stuff quite cheaply. So it is worth going and then sort of having a bit of play around and see what you can find out. I'm happy with that. It's a little collection, but it's nice to have a small selection of games for a system. So that really is all I can give you about the Master System. You've seen the 2 units, you've seen all the controls that go with it, you've seen all the cables and the leads and what have you. And just remember, there is a free manual for Alex Kidd in Enchanted World. Oh no, Alex Kidd in Miracle World, not I'm trying to say Mineral World and said the wrong one. Alex Kidd in Miracle World. If you want a manual, let me know. Yeah, and I must try and do this when I'm less tired, because that's been awful today. So I do apologise for the slight, ragged presenting style today, which is not my usual thing. But thank you very much for watching. Thank you for sticking with it. That's always been good to happen. And we'll see you again very soon. We'll do another collections video. I've got quite a few systems to get through, and there are some other bits and pieces I'd like to try and do. But yeah, so do check back every now and again, because we'll get a new one uploaded as soon as possible. Thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. I'm glad you've had fun as much as I have. Take care. Bye.